Hello, I'd like to welcome you to today's Makino Experience Center. My name is Bill Howard. I'm the product line manager for vertical machining centers here at Makino. Today's topic is Slim5, a growing family. If you're familiar with our product line, you know we offer a product called Slim3n. Well, obviously Slim5n is a little bit bigger version of the Slim3n. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And we're going to talk about a kind of a unique configuration of it, a 4+1. I'm coming to you today from one of two Makino Experience Centers at our Mason facility, the building on the right. I'm in Experience Center number 1. There's Experience Center number 2 down the hall. There's also at Auburn Hills facility, which is just north of Detroit, 2 additional experience centers. The reason I tell you this is these experience centers offer a very unique ability for us to hold meetings with you. We can do it in a very confidential basis. We can do it as focused as you want. We can talk about machines. We can talk about process, parts, fixturing, automation. And the nice thing about it is it allows more of our folks to get around the table with more of your folks, and we can literally talk back and forth. And there's not the expense of trying to bring your whole team or our whole team together somewhere. So as a commercial, if you will, don't forget about the ability to sit down and talk with you confidentially, very focused on your application or machine or project. If you have a need for that, please contact your local Makino representative. I'm going to go back to the intro for a second. You'll notice over here there's a red box in chat. As we're going through this today, if you have questions that come to mind, please feel free to type in your question and basically hit send, and that will come at the end of the session today. We'll try and address as many of those questions as possible. So without any further ado, let's go on and get to the meat of today's presentation. We're going to talk about the Slim5. First off, you'll see there's actually 2 versions. There's a table version and there's an APC version. The one on the opposite side of the screen there, that's the pallet changer with the clamshell doors on the front. The one on this side of the screen, that's the table version machine. It's built very similar to the Slim3n, and it has a massive casting bed. There's 4 leveling points. And the unique thing about it is all the travels, X, Y, and Z, are all up overhead. And that gives us an advantage over the competition. I'll show you that here in a second. So basically, because it's a one-piece bed and column structure, you have very good stiffness and rigidity, dampening. You can have speed without compromise because you don't have to worry about the dynamics changing with the weight of the fixture or the component weight. So you've got all the motion, X, Y, and Z above, so you're going to have very consistent motion and speed, very good precision on the machine. Some of the competition, almost all of the competition, builds a machine with a turret on the front of the Z-axis. And you'll see, we just talked about us having X, Y, and Z all overhead. If you think about that turret, you'll notice there that as you move, the workpiece has to move, so that can limit the size of the workpiece simply by having to move the workpiece versus moving the spindle, as you can see there, relative to the workpiece. So that gives us, the Makino, much more productivity and a given floor space simply because of the basic design of the machine. This is a look at the basic bed of the machine. As I said, there's 4 leveling points. Up here you can kind of see the linear guideways. That's for the front to back motion, which would be the y-axis. So there's the basic structure. The table would mount right here. So good stiffness and rigidity for the table. This has the remaining workings added. So you'll see this moves, the carrier moves side to side for your x-axis, front to back for y, and obviously up and down for z. And here we've added the table. So you'll notice the table was fixed and everything moves about the table. Now, as I said, the Slim5n is a larger version. It's a 600 kg payload versus the Slim3n was a 400 kg. But we've got 80% more stiffness and rigidity in the table and bed structure because of the larger machine and the heavier load capabilities. Okay, how big is this thing? Well, it's about 710 by 400 by 410, so almost 28 by 15 3/4 by 16.14. So it's a very compact machine, as you'll see here. It's about 5.5 feet wide and about 14.5 feet deep, but that deep also includes the discharge for the lift-up chip conveyor. So very narrow and very good floor space for a machine of this size. Standard table version, 800 by 400, about 1,300 pounds. But we offer a number of tables, as you can see here, 800 by 450. Here's an 1,100 by 400, and then 1,100 by 450. All of these different table configurations, you'll notice we're adding wings and width. That's if you wanted to add a vertical rotary table and tailstock, so you can do that without impinging upon the travels of the machine. We also built a pallet changing version. Here you can see the pallet of the machine. It's 900 by 593, or basically 35 by 24. And there's about a 300 kg or 400 pound load per pallet. Now the problem is, if you think about, picks up both pallets and rotates them very quickly. As a matter of fact, it's about a 5-second pallet change time. So the weight, depending on where it's positioned, causes inertia. So it's important that depending on the radius of where the weight is at, we may have to slow the pallet changer down, or there may be some limits there. But there's the pallet change version. Just to give you an idea, I'm going to show you a real quick video. You'll see a vertical rotary table and a tailstock with a workpiece mounted in between there. Obviously, the advantage there is that allows you to work on the top and two sides of that particular workpiece. So here's that little quick video of the pallet change. There's your vertical rotary table and tailstock. There's your workpiece. So as you can see, you could work on the top surface and both sides. So we have access to multiple sides of the workpiece in a single setup. How quick is it? Well, it's 60 meters a minute, or basically 2,400 inches a minute on X and Y, 50 meters or 2,000 inches a minute on Z. Feed rate's up to 787 inches a minute. And you look at the ACK and deck rates, we're at 1.3 Gs on X, 1.1 on Y, and 1.5 on Z. We always try to be very quick into and out of the workpiece. We've increased the rapid traverse for X and Z. And if you think about it, what that means is for every position, we're going to be quicker. Same thing that's the X, here's the Z. So you can see that plot shows you we're 17% faster on X and 15% faster on Z. What's that mean? That's going to reduce your cutting time, your non-cut time, I'm sorry. It's going to reduce your non-cut time, therefore reduce your cycle time and increase the value proposition on the machine. We've done a unique thing here compared to the competition. Virtually all the competition is a BT30. We've actually went to an HSK. The reason being, we have two faces. We mount on the taper and we mount on the face. So we have very good tool change repeatability, very high security of holding that tool. As you spin the tool, we're gripping, and you have very good stiffness and rigidity. Very good for high-speed applications and very low runout, unlike the BT or the CAT 30 design. What that also does for us is we have less runout. So as we have less runout, we're going to have more and more tool life. You'll see a very dramatic increase on tool life. Why is that important? Well, tool life, increasing tool life is going to reduce your costs and therefore make you very competitive in the marketplace. This is a little video. This is the competition. There's their BT30 trying to grab it and hold it by the stud. You notice it's wiggling around, and they're trying to locate on the diameter. So you got bad tool change repeatability. Now we're going to go HSK A50. You got the surface, the taper, plus the face. Very good stiffness and rigidity. The other thing you'll notice is with the HSK, we can handle about 12 times the force on that tool. So therefore, it's going to give you more stiffness and more rigidity than the competition with the BT30. We make the machine in two different spindles. There's a 16,000 RPM HSK A50, 20 horsepower, 15 continuous, and about 30 foot-pounds of torque. There's the blue lines are the torque, the red lines are the power. So that's the standard 16,000 RPM. Now, what I want to show you here, if you're familiar with Makino at all, you know we started back in 1937 and we started making milling machines. So consequently, our expertise is in milling spindles. It just so happens that our milling spindle can also drill and tap. So what you're going to see here is a pretty good cut, and you hopefully can hear in the background there. This is a milling machine spindle that can also drill and tap. So that's in steel there. So that's what that looks like. And we're also going to show you one in aluminum. Same thing, this is aluminum. And again, you can hear in the background there. So capability, we build spindles long before drill and tap machines became popular. So we come at this entire market as a milling machine, milling spindle builder. And oh, by the way, they happen to be able to really drill and tap pretty well. As 8,000 RPM is an option, HSK 50, 25 horsepower, 15 continuous, but you'll notice there's 60 foot-pounds of torque here. So what we've done is we've sacrificed RPM for torque at the low range. So we've got about twice as much torque as the prior, and here's the blue obviously is your torque, the red is your power curve. Now this is, again, a cut. Hopefully you'll be able to hear the background here. This is milling in steel. You can hear that purr, that growl of a very well-built milling spindle. Just so happens that this machine's also very good at drilling and tapping as well. So, tool change. The tool changer, it's a what we call an armless. So in other words, the spindle's going to run over, drop the tool into magazine, go up. The magazine is going to rotate. It's going to come back down through and pick up the next tool. Very, very fast. Again, the whole idea here is to minimize your non-cut time, reduce your cost. So another thing to think about, you think about the competitive machines, they have that turret on the front of the spindle. What happens when you start getting long and large diameter tools? Well, you can see the workpiece itself is going to limit how long a tool, and the tools are going to limit, and that turret are going to limit how big a diameter a tool you can get. Our tools are back in a tool queue area, basically with an ATC shutter, a tool chain shutter, protects them, keeps them back there. We can have larger diameter and longer tools. So again, more types of applications. This is just talking about the tool drum is 26 tools. You're about an 80 millimeter diameter, 140 with adjacent pockets empty, about 350 millimeters long. And you're looking at 3.5 kg, 7.7 pounds. Look at the speed here. It's 0.8 tool to tool. It's 2.4 chip to chip. Min and max is 2.4 to 3.0. You might say, well, how's that come about? The 2.4 is if you're doing adjacent tools. The 3.0 would be if you picked up tool number 1 and then went over and got tool number 14. So still very, very quick, very productive. I'm going to show you a tool change, but I want to explain it a little bit. You'll see the spindle run over and come up through the tool magazine and deposit the tool it was using. You'll see the magazine rotate, and then the spindle come back down through, pick up the next tool, and come back into the work zone. There you go. Like I said, very fast, very efficient, minimizing non-cut, non-productive time. Another thing about our design, the Slim5n, that turret on the front, all those tools are out there, they're exposed in the manufacturing environment. So if you think about while you're cutting, you're throwing up chips and coolant and they're getting all over the other tools and all of that kind of stuff. So you have the potential of having a bad surface finish because you picked up a chip and brought it down in on the tool to your cutting. Whereas we have our tools back behind, the ATC is behind the ATC shutter, so the tools are back there and they're protected from chips and coolant. Let's talk about precision. The standard machine uses pulse encoders, so we're looking at about 5 micron positioning and about 3 micron repeatability. We can provide the machine with scales. Our thoughts were most of the production environment, the parts on the machine for such a short period of time, we made coolant temperature control standard. So therefore, we're containing and maintaining the temperature of the coolant relative to the machine, and therefore we think that's going to enhance accuracy more so than scales. Although, as you can see, we offer scales as an option, 2.5 micron positioning and 1.5 micron repeatability. This is talking about the chip and coolant system. About 460 liter, 121 gallons, a lot of coolant. And basically it's got a lift up chip conveyor with a drum filter. So, and we've got nozzle coolant, flood coolant nozzles overhead, ATC, that covers the ATC, ATC wash, and through spindle coolant, 3.0 MPa, 430 PSI, through spindle coolant that's standard. And this shows kind of a montage of all that. You have the nozzles around the spindle, you have through spindle coolant, you have the overhead wash, you have the terrace wash down along the ATC cover, and also in the work zone of the machine. And this is just showing you through spindle on this side, on the far side are the various different coolants. The machine is very small, we talked about earlier, so obviously the operator ergonomics are very friendly. You'll notice that the operator can stand at the control and readily reach the spindle. So if you want to load and unload or maintain tools, you can do that through the spindle. All of the operating or mechanical parts of the machine are out the back. Here's your lift-up chip conveyor and chip drum, your coolant pumps, your filtration. So that allows the operator to be at the front of the machine and the maintenance people to be at the back of the machine. We can also provide all kinds of automation features. This is the table version. Here you're looking at auto doors. So you hit the button and there's the auto door. Or you can hit the button and there's the auto door closed. So that's a standard feature. In addition, this is the pallet changer. You'll see the clamshell doors. Auto doors are standard on this machine as well. There's the clamshell doors opening. This is your pallet in the queue area. Obviously, the other pallets in the work zone. And then this is showing the auto doors close for the APC machine. In addition to the light curtains, we have two-hand safety, as you can see here. Here's the light curtains, or the two-hand safety Opto Touch kind of configuration. That was the table version. This is the pallet changing version there. We're also showing, and this will be at IMTS, so I'd like to invite you, please stop by the Makino booth at IMTS and see this. It's an AutoCam 4+1 table. You'll notice, number one, the size of the table. We can turn a 550 millimeter diameter, almost 22-inch diameter part there, and it can be 300 millimeters or 11.81 long, 220 pounds. So now you have the ability to tilt, work on the face, tilt it, work on all four sides by rotating that around. So now you can have access to 5 sides of a workpiece. It also, you can do a dome or spherical parts. That's what you're looking at here. The rotational axis is 360. You get plus 120 minus 120. So in 0.001 degree increments. The rotating axis goes at 50 RPM. The tilting axis goes at 40 RPM. And as you can see, it has very good accuracies for both positioning and repeatability. This is an example of a workpiece, and we're going to watch the video here, but you're going to see it work on all 5 sides of that workpiece. So there we're working on one side, now we're working on one end. And notice the size of that workpiece. Now we're working on the other side, opposite side. We're going to tilt it up here again and work on the other end. So now we've worked our way around all 4 sides of the part. There's the tool change. Now we're going to drill some long holes. We're going to do it from both sides. A long hole from the top. Now we're going to spin it around and drill from the bottom as well. So you can see here how a setup like this will allow you, now we're going to work on the top surface of the part. So now we've touched all 5 sides of that part in one setup on that machine. So that minimizes your setups. It's going to cut down on your work in process. It's going to cut down on your handling and lost time. And it's also going to enhance your accuracy because all those features are related to each other because they're all put in one setup. The machine uses the Makino Professional S control. What's back in behind there is a FANUC OIMF control. And actually we're introducing at IMTS the plus version of that from FANUC. So it's got a large LCD screen, 4-axis simultaneous, 4+1, DNC, USB, all the normal stuff. The OIMF Plus benefits, number one, it's a bigger screen, so you go from 8.5 to 10.4, so easier, and there's also been some rearrangement of the keyboard or key panel to make it more user-friendly. Another feature here is we've gone to the HRV3 Plus, or the High Response Vector Control. What this allows us to do is run higher speeds, higher current loop, and gets us higher velocities and tighter circular interpolation. It also will have very positive benefits on surface finish and cycle time. Looking at that, for every distance you move, as a result of that speed, it's going to take less time. So if you look at green versus gold, green versus gold. So that is the differential, the savings that you'll have as a result of the FANUC OIMF Plus control on the machine. So it's got also higher speed block processing, AICC, including jerk control, we've made standard. 200 block look ahead was 40. Block processing time is now 2 millisecond, was 4 millisecond. And we've enhanced that with larger program storage capability, more programs, 400 to 1,000. Tool number designations, you can now go up to T8 digit. So a lot of enhancements along with that. FANUC is touting what they call their Intelligent Human Interface, or IHMI. Basically, the whole idea here is to make it user-friendly. The look and feel of other FANUC controls. Touchscreen displays, menu icons, animated features, things like that are all now part of that FANUC Intelligent Human Interface. And this is the base screen with, I said, the bigger display. Now, we've talked about the machine. What we want to talk a little bit is this is a high production machine, and it's designed literally to allow you to add automation, whether that be an operator walking between machines or a robot on a rail. Here's another gantry, overhead gantry, or through the front, or a pedestal robot. The other thing is you can load parts from the right side of the machine, the left side of the machine, the front, or from the top. So there's a lot of automation potential there. So not only are you now making parts very fast, but you can automate so that you can, again, get as much of that manual handling out of the part as possible. This is an example, and you'll see what we're making are aluminum cylinder heads. And there's actually 2 6-machine lines here, and it's all overhead gantry loaded. So I'm going to show you a quick video of this. You'll see there's one 6-machine line, there's the other. You'll see the overhead gantry. The parts, these are the raw parts coming in, literally. They're picked off of that conveyor, and then this is on the Slim. You'll notice tilt rotary table. There's the tool changer in the background. Here again, this is loading them into the next machine down the line. Those machines, they process from machine 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6. You're looking again here at tool change and the ability to work on multiple sides of the part, compound angles on the parts as well. And now what you're seeing is you're seeing the parts. There it's on the machine, auto clamp fixtures, obviously, compound angle hole there. There's a tilt rotary table, trunnion between headstock and tailstock. Once the part is done, it's picked up off of the machine and brought out and dropped down to a discharge station on the conveyor, and that's what you're looking at here. So from beginning to end, the part are never touched by human hands. Complete automation. Obviously, to support all this, we've developed a number of hydraulic fixtures. Here's 2A and 2B. So you have 2A parts, 2B parts. This is on a standard version machine, table version. There's what the schematic looks like for that. Here we have an example on a pallet change machine where we have, again, 2A, 2B parts. You'll notice it's on both sides of the pallet changer. So you can change that. With the pallet changer, you can have 2A, 2B. This is what that interface looks like. This is where the hydraulic fixture interface to the operator. So here's your solenoids and everything that make the various circuits work. And there's what it would look like on the front of the machine. That concludes our presentation today on the Slim5n. And again, hopefully, as you've been watching along with us, if you had any questions, you've sent those in to us, and time permitting, we'll address as many of them as possible.
Yes, there's a couple questions that have come in. I'll
take a little bit of time to address. Um, One of the questions was how common is the Slim 3N and the Slim 5N? Well, generally, there's about 70% of the parts. Obviously, the castings, because of the travels, are different on the Slim 5N versus the Slim 3N, but a large bulk of the parts are similar, so about 70%. Another question that came up was how big is this machine? I failed to mention it while we were talking about the machine, but it's again very similar to the Slim 3N. The machine is it's less than 5 feet wide and it's about 16 feet long, but that 16 feet includes the lift up chip conveyor and the chip collection at the back of the machine. So you can see they're very compact given the size of the parts because XYZ are all overhead on the spindle. So it takes up very minimal amount of floor space. So we literally have more production in a given amount of floor space than virtually almost any other machine. Another thing I failed to mention while we were talking about is because the table doesn't move. If you think about automation, it's very simple. You have auto fixtures, hydraulics, something like that. Because the table doesn't move and all the travels are up overhead, it's very easy to do that type of automation. Another question was kind of numbers question. Um, how many of these machines are installed? Well, between the Slim 3N and the Slim 5N global, there's over 4,000 machines. So just to give you an idea of that, so it's a lot of time on the machine. So it's very, very proven design, very good machine. The other question came up was about the AutoCam, the 4+1 table. There's over 200 installations of that globally. So these are products that we have tons of experience with. Another question it also was, what about other rotary type workheads? Well, you saw in there an example of Nikken. Obviously, we can do Sudocoma, we can do Layman. So it's just a matter of whether it be the standard table version machine or the pallet changing machine, sizing the right vertical rotary table and maybe vertical rotary table and tailstock, like you saw in the pallet change machine example there, that for your work piece and that will fit on the machine. I think that is all of the questions I have right now in queue. So I'd like to, on behalf of myself and the people here at Makino, thank you for joining us today for the Slim5n introduction, part of our growing Vertical Machining Center family. I'd also like to remind you that if you'd registered for this Experience Center, you should be receiving an email with a link that will allow you to watch it again. And I'd also encourage you, if you have coworkers or someone that you think would benefit from this information, please feel free to pass that on to them so that they can also learn about the Slim5n. Once again, thank you very much for joining us for the Makino Experience Center.